Today we're going to talk about the science of sound. One key concept to start with is that sound travels in waves. And if they are long, slow waves, we're going to hear a deep tone. If there's lots of little tiny short vibrations, we're going to hear a high tone. You may have noticed that different people have different voices. It tends to be that small children have high-pitched voices and big men tend to have low-pitched voices. That's because a man's vocal cords are longer and thicker than a child's are. The longer and thicker something is, the slower the vibration, the lower the tone. Okay. I'm going to show you an experiment we can do with a ruler. All we need to do is hold the ruler at the edge of a table and see how I use one hand to brace that ruler in place, and I use the other hand to flick the end of the ruler, and you can see it vibrates a little bit and it also makes a high, sharp sound. Let's give it a little bit more room so we can have more vibration. And you can see with more vibration, there's a lower tone. Let's make that wave a little longer. Do you hear that the longer the part is that's sticking out, the lower the tone is we hear? Let's make it as long as we can. Hear how low that tone is? Let's move it back again. And it'll get higher and higher and higher as it vibrates less. We can also play with vibration by making a little stringed instrument. I'm going to use a cardboard box and just stretch some rubber bands across it. You can use rubber bands. You can also use elastic hair ties. Now let's listen closely to the different sounds that these make. So the green one is a tight, skinny string, and it makes a high-pitched noise. Now let's listen to this one. The blue one, because it's a wider band and looser, it has longer, slower vibrations and a lower tone. There's different tones. So you hear those different tones with this rubber band instrument I've made, but you're going to hear them even more strongly with real instruments. So let's meet the instruments of the orchestra. The first one is the violin. It is the smallest of the string instruments. And let's listen to what it sounds like when we pluck it, when we plucked our rubber band instruments. Now usually a violin is played by like sliding a bow back and forth across the strings. And that's what that sounds like. And that's our pluck-in again. The next instrument is the viola. It is a bigger instrument, so it has longer strings. And you can hear that that was a deeper tone. The cello has still longer strings. The cello is long enough that the person who's playing it needs to sit down to play. And we hear those lower tones there. The longest of the strings is in the string on the string bass, where it's so tall that the player has to sit down to play it. Let's listen to those long strings. And now let's listen to them side by side. We have the violin with those short, high notes. And then we have the string bass. Those long strings make those deep tones. You can hear all the different sounds of the different instruments of the orchestra. And the larger the instrument in the family, the deeper the tone that it makes. We're going to do some more playing today with sound vibrations and all the different ways that sound changes as the vibrations change. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to our topic.